CISM Certification Full Course Updated 2026. Are you ready to pass the CISM exam and become a security expert today? These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification on the first try. Please leave your suggestions in the comment section below to help me improve this course. To wrap up this first part, remember that governance starts at the very top level. You need the board of directors to give you the power to protect the business. Without the board giving you support, you cannot enforce any rules on the employees here. Always speak the language of business and show how security helps the company make money. Now we will move to the questions, so you can test what you just learned. 1. Who is mostly responsible for the information security governance in a very large business company? The board of directors and senior management are mostly responsible for all the security rules. The very top leaders hold the final responsibility because they guide the whole company strategy. 2. What is the absolute most important goal of a good information security program right now? The main goal is to always support the main business goals of the entire company. Security must always help the business succeed, not block the business from making some money. 3. Why do we really need to create an information security steering committee for the business? We need it to get strong support from many different business departments in the company. Leaders from all across the company meet to make sure security aligns with their work. 4. What is the absolute biggest reason that a new information security program fails so quickly? A massive lack of strong support from the senior management causes the program to fail. If the top bosses do not care, no one will follow the rules or help. 5. What is the true definition of a good information security policy for a large company? It is a high-level statement that shows the true intent of the top management. It is a broad rule from bosses, telling everyone what they expect for security behavior. 6. How often do the main information security policies change inside a normal business company today? They very rarely change over time, unless the whole business changes its main direction completely. Because they are very broad rules, they stay the exact same for a long time. 7. What is the best way to explain an information security standard to a new employee? It is a strict mandatory rule for setting up all the hardware and THE software. Standards tell you the exact technical settings, like how long a password must always be. 8. What is the main purpose of an information security procedure in a daily work routine? It is a step-by-step guide to help workers do their daily computer tasks. It tells the staff exactly how to work, like setting up a brand new computer. 9. What is the big difference between security guidelines and security standards in a large business? Guidelines are just optional advice, and the security standards are always completely mandatory to follow. You must follow the standards always, but guidelines are just helpful advice to use sometimes. 10. What exactly does a key performance indicator do for a busy information security manager today? It easily measures how well a security process is working right now in the present. It tracks our current daily actions to see if we're doing our jobs correctly. 11. What kind of information does a key goal indicator tell us about our past projects? It clearly shows us the final result, and if we reached our big past goal. It looks back at what we did to prove we finished a big important project. 12. What exact type of danger does a key risk indicator show us in the business? It quickly warns us early if a bad risk is getting worse for the company. It acts as an early warning sign, so we can fix problems before they explode. 13. How exactly should a security manager talk to the board of directors in a meeting? They must always use simple business terms and only talk about money and business risk. The board does not understand technical words, so they talk about business impact and money. 14. Why is knowing the company culture so very important for a new security manager today? We need to understand it fully to create good rules that people will actually follow. If rules do not fit the normal culture, the employees will just completely ignore them. 15. What is the absolute main purpose of writing an information security strategy for the business? The main purpose is to clearly show how we will protect the valuable business assets. It is a long-term plan to keep the company safe over the next years. 16. Why must the security manager always care about the local laws and the government regulations? We must care about them to avoid huge fines and legal trouble for the company. The government makes strict privacy laws, and ignoring them will cost the business lots of money. 17. How do we make the choice about how much money to spend on system security? We make the best choice by looking at the true value of the protected asset. Never spend more on a security lock than the total value of the items inside. 18. Who has the final power to approve the new information security strategy in the company? The board of directors or the top management will always approve the final big strategy. They control the big budget money, so they must say yes to our final plan. 19. What exactly should we do right now if the main business strategy changes very quickly? We must quickly update our security strategy to closely match the brand new business goals. Security always follows the business plan, so a new business plan needs a new security plan. Remember to get the full course by checking the link in the video description below. Section 2. Welcome back to Section 2, where we will talk about managing risk. Risk management is a very big part of the CISM exam and job today. A risk happens when a bad threat hurts a weak spot in our systems. We call this weak spot a vulnerability, and we must find them all quickly. If a hacker finds a weak spot, they will steal our secret company data. Before we can stop any bad threats, we must know what we are protecting. We need to make an inventory list, which is a big record of assets. An asset is anything that has value, like our computers or private customer data. After we make our big asset list, we must find the value of everything. We only spend money to protect things that are worth real money to us. Now we can start a risk assessment to find out what could go wrong. First, we look for the bad threats, like a flood or a bad hacker. Then we look for our weak spots, like a server without a strong password. If a threat hits a weak spot, we will suffer a very big impact. Impact means how much money we lose if the bad event actually happens today. We also think about the true likelihood, which means how often it might happen. We multiply the likelihood by the impact to find our real total risk level. If the risk is very high indeed, we have to do something about it. There are 4 ways to handle risk, and you must learn them all today. The first way is to mitigate risk, which means we try to fix it. We put a good security control in, like a firewall to block the hacker. The second way is to transfer risk, which means someone else takes the blame. We buy an insurance policy for this, to pay us if we lose money. The third way is to accept risk, because fixing it costs too much money. Only the top business management leaders are allowed to accept a big business risk. The fourth way is to avoid risk, by just stopping the dangerous activity completely. If an old server is too risky, we just unplug it from the wall. We can never remove every single risk, so we always have some risk left. We call this the residual risk today, and the bosses must choose to accept it. To help us see all the risks, we use a big risk register document. A risk register is just a list of all the dangers to the company. We review this big list very often, because new threats appear every single day. Sometimes we use a risk heat map to show the bosses the worst dangers. A heat map uses red and green to make the risks very easy to understand. Red means the risk is very high, and we need to fix it fast. Green means the risk is very low, and we do not need to worry. Risk management is never completely finished today, it is a cycle that keeps on going. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, to keep our risk management working well. We must report our risk findings carefully, so the board can make smart choices. We look at the return on investment before we buy any new security tools. We want our security controls to work and save us more money than they cost. Every year we must test our controls to make sure they are still strong. Hackers get smarter every single week today, so our defenses must also get much better. This is why we update our systems and patch all the bad software bugs. Keep your eyes on the business goals when you try to fix any risk. 20. What is the very first step in creating a good risk management plan today? You must make a full inventory list to know what you are protecting always. If you do not know your assets, you cannot protect them from the bad hackers. 21. What happens when a bad computer threat hits a weak spot in our systems? The company will suffer a bad impact and probably lose lots of money quickly. A threat hitting a vulnerability causes damage, which means we lose data or our money. 22. Who is the only person allowed to accept a very high risk for the business? Only the top senior management leaders have the true power to accept business risks. Senior managers own the business budget, so they must accept the blame for bad choices. 23. What exactly is a risk register document used for in a large business company? It is a big central tracking list of all the known risks to the company. We write down all the bad dangers, so we can track them and fix them. 24. How do you describe the term vulnerability to a brand new employee working here? It is a bad weak spot in our software or our physical building security. Weak spots allow the bad hackers to break into our computers and steal our data. 25. What is the best way to handle a risk that costs too much to fix? We can just choose to accept it if the cost is higher than the impact. We never spend more money on security than the total value of the broken asset. 26. What does it mean to completely transfer a big risk to someone else today? It means we buy an insurance policy, so the insurance company pays for our losses. We pay a small fee to insurance, so they pay us when a hack happens. 27. What do we call the small risk that is left over after we fix things? We call this the residual risk today, and it will always exist in every system. You can never remove all the danger, so you must accept the small risk left. 28. Why do we use a risk heat map in our security meetings with the bosses? It uses simple colors like red to help bosses see the worst risks very easily. Bosses like easy, colorful pictures to understand where the biggest dangers are hiding right now. 29. What is the absolute best way to handle an extremely dangerous old server computer? We should just avoid the risk completely by turning off the server and unplugging it. Avoiding risk means stopping the activity entirely, so the badanga is gone for good. 30. How often should we review the risk register to keep the company very safe? We must review it very often indeed, because new hacker threats appear every single day. The risk level changes all the time, so we must check the list very regularly. 31. How do we normally calculate the true risk level of a bad security event? We multiply the likelihood of the event by the total impact to the whole business. This simple math formula shows us exactly how dangerous a specific threat is right now. 32. What is the main purpose of putting a new security control on a computer? The main purpose is to mitigate risk, which means making the danger much smaller today. Controls like a strong firewall block hackers, and they reduce the chance of a hack. 33. What is a bad threat in the context of an information security risk assessment today? A threat is any bad event that could harm our systems or steal our data. A flood or a computer virus are both good examples of very bad, dangerous threats. 34. Why must we always find the real value of an asset before protecting it? We must know its true total value, so we do not spend too much money. Spending $1,000 to protect $10 is a very bad business choice today. 35. What is the best example of a true impact in a big risk assessment report? Losing $5 million in one day is a very clear example of business impact. Impact is the true financial damage caused when a threat hits a weak security spot. 36. Why are hackers getting smarter every single week? A problem for our security plans. It means our current security controls will become very weak and useless over some time. We must keep updating our defenses to fight the brand new tricks from the hackers. 37. What does return on investment mean when we talk about buying new security tools? It means the new security tool must save us more money than it actually costs. A good security tool stops expensive hacks, so it pays for itself very quickly indeed. 38. How do we know if our old security controls are still working very well today? We must test them every single year to make sure they still block the hackers. Testing proves that our defenses still work, and it finds new weak spots to fix. Remember to get the full course by checking the link in the video description below. Welcome back to section 3, where we talk about building a strong security program. Our security program is the machine that keeps the entire business safe every single day. We need a good manager to lead, and a team to do the hard work. This part of the course focuses on making the security strategy a real living thing. You must build an information security framework, which is like a blueprint for a house. This framework helps us organize our work, so we do not miss any important spots. We use common industry models today, like ISO or NIST, to guide our big plans. These models show us the best way to set up our defenses against the hackers. We need to create a security baseline, which is the minimum level of protection. Every computer and the company must meet this very basic level of security right now. If a computer is below the baseline, it is not allowed on our network. We also need to focus on people, because they are often our weakest security link. Training and awareness programs are very vital to teach staff how to stay safe. If an employee knows how to spot a bad phishing email, they protect the company. We must create a culture of security where everyone feels responsible for protecting the data. A good manager makes security easy, so people do not try to bypass the rules. We also need to manage our technology and keep all our security tools running well. This includes managing our firewalls and our antivirus to stop the bad computer viruses. We must check our logs every day to see if anyone is trying to break in. Monitoring is like having a security guard who never sleeps and watches the doors. We must also think about third parties, like vendors who have access to our data. If a vendor has weak security today, our own data could be stolen very easily. We must use strong contracts to ensure that our partners follow our security rules always. We audit our vendors regularly to make sure they are keeping their big security promises to us. Another big part of our program is managing the identity and access of our users. We must make sure that each person only sees the data they need for work. We call this the principle of least privilege, and it keeps our secrets very safe. If a worker changes their job role, we must update their access levels immediately. We also use multi-factor authentication today to make it harder for the hackers. This means ISACA needs a password and a code from their phone to enter. Even if a hacker steals a password, they cannot get inside without that secret code. We must also plan for the future and buy new tools as the company grows. Managing a security program requires much money, so we must build a good budget. You have to show the leaders how the money will make the company much safer. We use our metrics from Section 1 to prove that our program is working well. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, to keep the security program very strong. Finally, we must always be ready to change, because the business world moves very fast. If the company starts using the cloud, we must move our security to the cloud. A good manager is always learning new things and updating the security program every year. Now let us look at the questions to see what you remember about programs. 39. What is the main purpose of an information security framework in a large business company? It provides a structured blueprint or guide to help build a complete security program. It gives us a solid plan to follow, so we do not forget any parts of security. 40. Why is the principle of least privilege so important for protecting our secret company data? It ensures that users only have access to the data they need for their job. This stops people from seeing secrets they do not need, which reduces our total risk. 41. What is the best way to make sure that all company computers have the same security? You must create a security baseline and force every computer to follow those rules. A baseline is a minimum standard that everyone must meet to keep the network safe today. 42. Why should we spend money on security awareness training for all our regular staff members? We do this to reduce the risk of people making mistakes like clicking bad links. People are often the weakest link, so we must teach them how to spot threats. 43. What is the main job of a security steering committee during the building of a program? Their main job is to provide guidance and approve the money for security projects. They represent the different parts of the business and help the program fit everyone's needs. 44. Why must we monitor our system logs every single day in the Security Operations Center? We check them to find any signs that a hacker is trying to break in. Logs record everything that happens on a computer, so they show us when something is wrong. 45. What does multi-factor authentication do to help protect our user accounts from the hackers? It requires more than just a password, like a secret code sent to a phone. Even if a hacker knows the password, they cannot get in without the second secret step. 46. How do we make sure that our third-party vendors are keeping our data very safe? We use strong legal contracts and audits to make sure they follow our rules. We must verify that our partners are secure, because their mistakes can hurt our company. 47. What should happen to a user's access when they leave the company to work elsewhere? Their access must be deleted immediately, so they can no longer enter our systems. Leaving accounts open is a huge risk, because an unhappy ex-employee could cause damage. 48. Why is a security culture more effective than just having many strict technical security rules? Because when people care about security, they follow the rules even when nobody is watching. A good culture makes security a habit, which is much stronger than just using firewalls. 49. What is the best way to get a bigger budget for your new security program projects? You must show the senior leaders how the money will reduce the total business risk. Leaders give money when they see that it protects the company from losing much more. 50. What does the term security through obscurity mean in the world of information technology? It means trying to hide a system instead of actually fixing the bad security holes. This is a very bad strategy because hackers will always find the hidden systems very easily. 51. How does an organization decide which security framework is the best one for them to use? They choose a framework that fits their specific industry and their legal requirements today. A bank might use a different guide than a small flower shop or a hospital. 52. What is the role of an information security manager when working with the IT department? The manager provides the big security rules, and the IT team implements the technical tools. The manager decides what needs to be safe, and the IT staff builds the defenses. 53. Why must we update our security program when the company moves its data to the cloud? We must update it because the cloud has different risks than our old physical servers. When the business changes how it works, the security must change to match the new way. 54. What is the most important thing to include in a security awareness email to staff? You must use very simple language and tell them exactly what they need to do. If the message is too long or hard, the employees will just delete it and ignore. 55. How can we measure if our security awareness training is actually working for the staff? We can send fake phishing emails to see how many people still click the links. This gives us a real number to show if our employees are learning to be safe. 56. What is the main benefit of using an automated tool to manage all our user identities? It reduces the chance of human error and makes giving access much faster for everyone. Automation keeps the records clean and ensures that rules are followed the same way every time. 57. Why should a security manager attend the big business meetings for every new company project? They attend to make sure that security is built into the project from the start. It is much cheaper to fix security at the beginning than to fix it at the end. Remember to get the full course by checking the link in the video description below. Welcome back to section 4, where we will talk about incident management today. No matter how many firewalls we have, a security incident will eventually happen here. An incident is any bad event that threatens the safety of our private data. We must be ready to act fast, so the damage does not spread further. The first step in incident management is making a very solid response plan now. This plan tells every team member exactly what to do when a hack starts. We need an incident response team, which is a group of highly trained experts. This team includes people from IT, the legal department, and even the public relations. When we think an attack is happening, we must first verify the bad news. We call this the identification phase, where we check if it is real. If it is a real attack, we must move to the containment phase. Containment means we stop the fire from spreading to the rest of our systems. We might unplug a dirty computer or block a bad user account immediately. After the threat is contained and safe, we start the big cleanup work. We call this the eradication phase, where we remove the bad hacker files. We find the root cause of the problem, so it never happens again later. Next is the recovery phase, where we bring our systems back to life. We must check everything very carefully before we let the regular users back in. We use our clean backup files to restore the data that was lost or broken. We monitor the systems closely for days to make sure the hacker is gone. The most important part of the cycle is the lessons learned meeting at the end. We sit down with the team and talk about what went right or wrong. We use this information to update our response plan for the next big incident. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, to keep our incident response team ready. We also need to talk about business continuity, which means keeping the company running. If our main office burns down, we need a plan to work elsewhere. We perform a business impact analysis to see which systems are the most vital. Some systems must stay online always, while others can wait for a few days. We set a recovery time objective, which is the maximum time we can wait. We also set a recovery point objective, which is how much data we can lose. If we back up every hour, our maximum data loss is only 60 minutes. These numbers help us design the right backup and recovery systems for the business. We also have a disaster recovery plan for the really big and bad events. This plan focuses on fixing the technology after a huge flood or a fire. We test these plans every year to make sure the team knows the steps. If we never test the plan, it will probably fail when we need it. Finally, we must communicate with the public if their private data was stolen today. We must be honest and fast to keep the trust of our customers. If we hide the truth from people, the company reputation will be ruined forever. Now let us look at the questions about handling incidents and keeping things running. 58. What is the very first thing a team should do when they find an incident? They must first perform identification to confirm if the security threat is actually real. We do not want to start a big emergency for a simple computer glitch or mistake. 59. What is the main goal of the containment phase during a very big cyber attack? The main goal is to stop the damage from spreading to other clean computer systems. We isolate the broken parts so the hacker cannot move around inside our whole network. 60. Why is the lessons learned meeting considered the most vital part of the whole process? It helps the team improve the plan, so the same mistake never happens again later. We learn from our past failures to make our future security much stronger than before. 61. What does the term recovery time objective mean for a critical business system today? It is the maximum amount of time a system can stay offline before failing. This tells the IT team how fast they must fix the server to save the business. 62. What exactly is a recovery point objective when we are talking about data backups? It is the maximum amount of data that the business can afford to lose forever. If we back up once a day, our recovery point objective is 24 hours total. 63. Why should the legal department be a part of the incident response team meetings? They help us follow the laws regarding data breaches and telling the government officials. Some laws require us to report a hack within a few hours or we face fines. 64. What is the best way to test a disaster recovery plan without stopping work? You can use a tabletop exercise where the team talks through a fake emergency. This lets everyone practice their roles without actually turning off any of the real servers. 65. What does the term eradication mean when we are fixing a hacked computer system? It means completely removing all the hacker tools and the bad files from the system. We must make sure the system is 100% clean before we start using it again. 66. Why is a business impact analysis so important for the disaster recovery planning process? It helps us identify which systems are the most important to the whole company. We cannot fix everything at once, so we focus on the most vital systems first. 67. What should we do if we find a hacker is currently inside our main server? We must follow the containment plan and isolate the server from the internet immediately. Stopping the connection prevents the hacker from stealing more data or causing more damage. 68. What is the difference between an incident response plan and a disaster recovery plan? Incident response handles small attacks, while disaster recovery handles big physical events like fires. One is for stopping hackers, and the other is for rebuilding after a physical disaster. 69. How do we ensure that our backup data is actually useful during a real emergency? We must perform regular restore tests to make sure the data is not broken. A backup is totally useless to us if the files are corrupted and cannot open. 70. What is the role of public relations during a major data breach at the company? They manage the message to the customers and the news to protect the reputation. Speaking clearly to the public helps keep people calm and maintains trust in the brand. 71. Why is it often better to rebuild a server from scratch after a bad hack? It is the only way to be completely sure that no hidden hacker tools remain. Hackers hide secret backdoors in systems that are very hard to find with normal tools. 72. What is a cold site in the context of disaster recovery and business continuity today? It is an empty building with no equipment that we can use after a disaster. It is the cheapest option, but it takes a long time to get running again. 73. What is a hot site, and why would a company choose to pay for it? It is a ready-to-use office that has all the computers and data ready. It is very expensive, but it lets the business start working again in just minutes. 74. Who should have the final authority to declare that a disaster is officially happening now? A designated senior leader or manager should have the power to start the plan. Starting a disaster plan costs money, so a leader must make the final big call. 75. What is the main purpose of a root cause analysis after an incident is finished? To find the original reason why the incident was able to happen in the first. If we do not fix the main hole, the hacker will just come back again. 76. How does incident management help with the overall risk management process of the company? It provides real-world data about the threats that are actually hitting your systems today. Seeing real attacks helps us understand which risks are the most dangerous to us now. Remember to get the full course by checking the link in the video description below. Section 5. Welcome back to Section 5, where we will discuss the technical side of keeping things safe. Information security is not just about the rules, but also about the tools we use daily. We must choose the right technology to protect our data from the clever hackers of today. This part covers the building blocks of a very strong and secure computer network for us. We start with access control, which means deciding who gets to enter our digital house now. You must identify every user and then verify their identity with a strong secret password. WER's central systems like Active Directory to manage all our user accounts in one place. This makes it much easier to remove access when an employee leaves the company forever. Next, we must protect the network by using firewalls to block the bad traffic outside. A firewall acts like a filter that only lets the safe and approved data pass. We also use intrusion detection systems, which act like a silent alarm for our network. These tools alert us immediately if there's someone trying to break through our defenses. Encryption is another huge tool that we use to keep our secret data private. It turns our plaintext files into a secret code that nobody else can read. We use it for data at rest, which means files sitting on our hard drives. We also use it for data in motion, while it travels across the internet today. We must also manage our software and keep it updated with the latest security patches. Hackers look for old bugs in programs that have not been updated by the staff. We use a patch management process to fix these holes before the hackers find them. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, to keep our software strong and very safe. Cloud security is also very important, as many businesses move their data to the internet. We share the responsibility of security with the company that provides the cloud service today. They protect the physical servers, but we must still protect the data inside the cloud. We use strong encryption and good passwords to keep our cloud storage very safe indeed. Physical security is the final piece of our technical security plan for the whole business. We need locks on the doors and cameras to watch the server room all day. Even the best computer security is useless if someone can just walk in and steal. We must protect our hardware From the physical threats like theft or a bad fire, mobile devices like phones and tablets also need strong security rules to protect our data. WER's mobile device management, to lock or wipe a phone if it is lost. This prevents our secret company emails from falling into the hands of a complete stranger. We must also teach the staff to never use public Wi-Fi for their work tasks. Security is about layers, like an onion that has many different skins for protection. If a hacker breaks one layer, they still have many more layers to go through. We call this defense in depth, and it is the best way to stay safe. Now let us look at the questions to test your knowledge on technical security tools. 77. What is the main purpose of using a firewall on a busy company computer network? It acts as a strong filter that blocks unauthorized and dangerous traffic from entering. Firewalls keep the bad hackers out, while letting the employees do their normal work. 78. Why is encryption so very important for protecting the private data of our many customers? It turns the data into a secret code that only the right people can read. If a hacker steals encrypted files, they cannot see any of the real secret information. 79. What does the term data at rest mean in the world of information security today? It refers to any data that is currently sitting still on a hard drive. We must encrypt this data so it stays safe even if the laptop is stolen. 80. Why must we always perform regular patch management for all our company software programs? We do this to fix the bad security holes that hackers use to break in. Software updates include security fixes, which stop the hackers from using known weak spots. 81. What is the difference between identification and authentication in a secure computer system today? Identification is telling the system who you are, while authentication is proving it is you. Your username is your identity, but your secret password is the proof that you are real. 82. What is the main job of an intrusion detection system on a large business network? Its main job is to watch the network and alert us if someone is attacking. It works like a silent burglar alarm that tells us when a hacker is trying something. 83. Why is the physical security of our server room just as important as computer security? Because a hacker can just steal the whole computer if the door is left open. We must protect the actual hardware to prevent people from taking our data away physically. 84. What is the biggest risk of allowing employees to use their own phones for work? The biggest risk is that the company has no control over the phone's security settings. If the phone is lost or stolen, the secret company data might be easily seen. 85. What does the term defense in depth mean when we are designing a new network? It means using many different layers of security to protect the valuable company data. Using many layers makes it much harder for a hacker to reach the very center. 86. Why should we use a central system like Active Directory to manage our user accounts? It allows the security team to manage and remove all user access from one place. This makes it very fast to stop an old employee from entering our systems again. 87. What is the shared responsibility model in the context of using a cloud service? It means both the company and the cloud provider must work together to stay safe. The provider protects the building, but the company must protect its own private data files. 88. Why is it dangerous for an employee to use public Wi-Fi for their work laptop? Because hackers can easily watch the traffic and steal passwords on a public network. Public Wi-Fi is not secure, so we must use a VPN to stay safe today. 89. What is a honeypot, and why would a security team use one in their network? It is a fake system, designed to trick hackers into attacking it instead of us. This lets us study the hackers' tricks, without letting them touch our real valuable data. 90. What is the main benefit of using an automated vulnerability scanner on our systems? It quickly finds the weak spots in our network so we can fix them fast. The scanner does the hard work of checking thousands of files for any bad bugs. 91. Why should we always disable the old and unused user accounts in our company system? Because hackers look for these empty accounts to sneak into our network without notice. Leaving old doors open is very risky, so we must close them as soon as possible. 92. What is the role of a digital certificate in the world of Internet security today? IT proves that a website is real and that the connection is completely safe now. Certificates help our browser know that we are talking to the real bank website. 93. How does a virtual private network help a remote worker stay very safe today? It creates a private tunnel for their data to travel through the public internet safely. The VPN encrypts all the traffic, so nobody can see what the worker is doing. 94. Why is it a bad idea to use the same password for every company account? Because if a hacker steals one password, they can enter every single system we own. Using different strong passwords limits the damage if one account is ever hacked today. 95. What is the main purpose of a security audit for our technical computer controls? It is an outside check to make sure our security tools are working correctly. An auditor looks at our systems to find anything we might have missed or forgotten. Remember to get the full course by checking the link in the video description below. Welcome back to the final part of our 2026 CISM course for security managers today. We have learned many things, but now we must focus on how to keep it. Operations management is the daily work that keeps our security systems running very smoothly indeed. We must maintain our defenses and check for new problems every single hour of the day. Change management is the first big topic we need to talk about in this section. We must never change a computer without a solid plan and a written approval first. If we change things too fast, we might accidentally break a big security wall today. Every change must be tracked carefully, so we can go back if something fails. We also need to manage our patches, which we talked about in the last part. Patch management is an ongoing job that never ends for the security team here. We must test the new patches to make sure they do not break our software. Once we know a patch is safe, we push it out to every computer. Vulnerability management is also a daily task for a good information security manager today. We use special tools to scan our whole network for any brand new weak spots. If we find a bad hole, we must fix it according to the risk. We prioritize the biggest risks first to keep the hackers away from our data. We must also monitor our systems for any signs of a new security threat. We use a security information and event management system to watch all our logs daily. This system collects data from everywhere, and it looks for any strange patterns now. If a user logs in from Russia, but they live in London, we get alerted. Identity management is another part of our daily operations that we must handle well. We check that every user has only the access they need for their current job. If someone gets promoted today, we must change their access to match their new role. We also review our user lists to find any accounts that are no longer used. Data backups are the most important part of our disaster recovery plan for the company. We must check our backup logs to ensure that every single file was saved. We also move our backup tapes to a safe location far away from the main building. This protects our data if the main office is destroyed by a very big fire. We also need to talk about the security of our physical environment and the buildings. We check that our cameras work and that the server room door is locked. We must also manage our visitors and make sure they always have an escort here. Physical security is the first line of defense against anyone who wants to hurt us. Training the staff is another job that happens all year round in a good company. We send out security tips, and we remind people to watch for the hackers. If the employees are smart, they will help us catch the threats very early. Security is a team effort, and everyone must play their part to stay safe. Finally, we must always look at our metrics to see if we are getting better. We report our progress to the bosses, and we show them how we improved. Information security management is a journey that never really has a final end point. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, to keep the business safe for years. 96. What is the main purpose of using a change management process in the office? To ensure that system changes do not accidentally break the security of the business. Changes must be planned and tested, so we do not create new holes for hackers. 97. Why must we test a software patch before we install it on every computer? To make sure the patch does not break our important business software programs today. Sometimes a fix for security can cause another part of the system to stop working. 98. What is the biggest benefit of using a CISM system in our security office? It collects all the system logs in one place to find the hacker attacks. It connects the dots between many small events to show us a big dangerous attack. 99. Why is it important to have an off-site backup location for our company data? IT protects our data if the main building is destroyed by a flood or fire. If the building is gone, we can get our files from the safe second location. 100. What is the role of a vulnerability scanner in our daily security operations work? It automatically finds the weak spots in our network so we can fix them. It acts like a digital magnifying glass that looks for any small cracks in walls. 101. What does the term least privilege mean for a user working in our company? It means the user only has the access they need to do their work. We don't give extra access because it increases the risk if they're hacked. 102. Why should we perform regular reviews of all our active user accounts in the system? To find and disable any accounts that belong to people who no longer work. Hackers love to find old, forgotten accounts because